Okay, welcome you guys. I am beyond excited for today. So today I have a girl named Aubrey and she's beautiful and we met over social media and she is an amazing birth mom. And I am so excited to hear her side of the story because I know for me, I have nothing but love and gratitude in my heart for my birth mom because it's a hella hard thing. I can't even imagine going through it. So I'm so excited for her to share her wisdom and just everything that she has. So I will go ahead and turn the time over to her.
Hi, my name is Aubrey. I am a birth mother. I was freshly out of high school when I got pregnant. And so I'm just gonna start from the very beginning and share my story. So I was 19 years old. I was kind of lost. And I was at a party and I ended up pregnant. And at the very beginning, I was planning on single parenting, which right now I'm doing just because my husband's deployed. And oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do it forever, you know? So for all those singles moms out there, you guys are doing amazing. It's definitely one of the hardest things. And I grew up with a single mom. So my dad passed away when I was 7. And I grew up from the age of 7. My mom got remarried and then divorced like 3 years later. So my whole teen life, I didn't have a dad. I didn't have, well, I had a dad, but he wasn't present. And yeah, so it was very difficult. And so when I was pregnant, I was just planning on single parenting and I really didn't think about it. I just didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to, because I think deep down I knew the answer was adoption for me. And I wasn't ready for that personally. So I kept telling myself I was just going to single parent. Well then, so I got pregnant in November and I think it was June came around. And I had a really good talk with one of my neighbors in my, I'm LDS. And so we have a home ward. I had a really good talk. Her name was Rebecca. And I remember just sitting on the lawn and talking to her. And she, the things she said to me, I just knew. I knew, okay, this baby has a different mom and dad out there that are her parents. And so then it was, how do I find these parents? And how it works in the adoption world is you go through all these packets and it's so disconnecting. It's so, you're not connected to those families. And that was so hard for me because I looked at all these profiles and I'm like, okay, they can, I mean, there's so many great people on paper, but who I just didn't feel comfortable. So then I decided, okay, I'm gonna look around me and see who can't have children. And so I had 2 families in mind. And then I ended up going to dinner with a whole bunch of ladies from my sister's work. And they had known that I decided to place. And that topic came up and someone mentioned, so there was a woman there named Stacy, and there was a woman there named Griselda. And Griselda was like, well, why don't you have Stacy adopt your baby? And I looked over at her and I knew that was my baby's mother. I knew. And I can't explain it, but that feeling has gotten me through this whole adoption because that feeling was so strong. And I I knew that is her mom. But the subject got changed at lunch because I think everyone kind of felt that, like, okay, wait, this might really be something kind of a thing. Cause we looked at each other, we made eye contact, and we both just knew. But she's like, how do I go to you and say, hey, that baby's mine? And me, I'm like, how do I go to this person and say, hey, will you adopt my baby? Like, it was just a weird situation. So it took me like almost a week to get the courage up. And finally, um, I got the courage and I was at her work and I just went up to her and I was like, can I talk to you and your husband? And she just relief came over her and she teared up and she was like, yes. So this was in July. So I had decided to place in June, and July is when I found the family. So it took me about a month to find the family. And then once we found the family, we literally did everything together while I was pregnant. They came to ultrasounds. I went to her husband plays softball for just the city. So I went to all those games. We hung out. We did the 24th of July together. Just everything we could do together, we did together. And we became best friends before I even placed. So that was a blessing. But when they came over, I asked, I was like, would you guys be willing to adopt? And I think what I respect the most was they weren't just yes, 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 yes. They were, can we take this, pray about it, go to the temple, and really make sure this is right for our family? Because of course we want a baby. I mean, they were trying for 8 years. So of course they wanted a baby. And they had a 9-year-old at the time. And yeah, so they came back and they said, this is right for our family. So then not even a month later, I had the baby. So they only had a month to get ready for the baby. I did have the baby 4 weeks early. So at one of the ultrasounds, they were there, and all of a sudden the nurse was like, okay, you're going upstairs and you're going to have a baby. So it was 4 weeks early. Like, they only had 2 months to get ready for a baby. And then it ended up being, they only had a month. So then they were at the hospital the whole time. I had her hold the baby before I did, because I wanted her to have that bond. But each birth mother gets to decide how that goes. But I wanted her to have that more of a bond with, not more, but because we share a bond still to this day. There's something special about our relationship that she knows that there's something special. But I just wanted them to have that connection, if that makes sense. So they were at the hospital. I ended up getting really sick. But the plan was I was going to take the baby home. I was going to sign papers at the hospital and then take the baby home and just have a day, me and her alone. And that's really rare. And the adoption couple was actually really nervous about that. But I did it in a way where I was like, I will sign papers before, but I do need that day with her, because at the hospital, you just have nurses coming in all the time and you just don't have that one-on-one time with that little baby. So that ended up not happening right away. And I thought it wasn't going to happen at all, because I got really sick and she got released before I did. So they took her home. And that, I think, being a birth mom, you need to prepare yourself for every scenario. just because that was so hard for me. That's not how it went in my head. I remember just bawling because I was afraid I wasn't going to get that one-on-one time. But luckily, after I got out of the hospital, they offered to bring her over and I got to spend the whole day with her. So that was really special. And I actually still have a relationship. It was an open adoption. I chose an open adoption. I didn't know how open it was going to be. I wanted to see her at least once a month, is kind of what we verbally agreed to. With adoption, it's only verbal agreements. So nothing is court. You don't get papers saying they get once a week. It's verbal, and they can change at any time. It's their baby. So I was prepared for once a month. We hang out all the time. I see her, more than once a month. Our bond is really special. They were at the hospital when I had my son. So it's still open. We still hang out. I just was in California with them September. So we go every year. We usually go to Disneyland. It was closed. So we just kind of hung out at the beach and it was super fun. And it's special and I will never take it for granted because I know birth moms that don't really get to see their baby. And that was their agreement and that's what they agreed to. And that's kind of what they wanted. But I will never take it for granted because I am one lucky birth mother.
That's amazing. Seriously. So amazing. And seriously, such a beautiful story.
Yeah.
So, can I ask, what do they say to her? As far as you hanging out and stuff like that, what do they say about that?
So she's only 6 years old. Okay. So she's not really, won't really understand it. So I don't think they've explained it in depth.
Okay.
But she has heard, oh, this is your little brother her mom came to the hospital and was like, this is her little brother.
Yeah.
So she's heard those things.
Okay.
But she hasn't been sat down and told. And that's 100% their choice. I will never cross that boundary. I will never sit her down and explain it. That's 100% her family, her mom and dad's right. But there is that special connection and she feels it and I feel it. And so as of now, she doesn't really understand it, but I know she will one day.
I love it. That's just, I love that you have such a good relationship with that still and that you guys are just so open and you guys do everything and it's amazing and wonderful. And so what would you say was probably the hardest part was that you weren't able to see her right after, but then you did get that moment. So what would you say to other moms who may be wanting to place for adoption? What's the hardest thing about it?
I would say prepare yourself for signing papers. Because I thought it wasn't going to be as emotional as it was. But it definitely, it's hard. You just hope for the best for this little baby. And you don't know what the future is going to look like. And it's hard. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It was definitely one of the hardest things I had to do. But I knew it was right. And I think if you prepare yourself to not be okay, that's okay. I had to, because I wanted to be so strong and I wanted to not, but once I realized, okay, it's okay to not be okay, and I'm okay to just cry. Like, that's okay. And everyone left my hospital room except for my mom, and I literally just cried for hours. And be prepared. But at the same time, be prepared for all the great moments you'll have, because great moments will come. And you have to remind yourself that, because that's important as well. Because in that moment, it's hard, and you're allowed to be sad, and you're allowed for those things. But at the same time, you want to remind yourself that good things are going to come of this. And I mean, I'm so blessed, and I know other birth moms that I interact with are so blessed. And also, I think feeling alone and not really people not understanding kind of your feelings. Find a group. I mean, I there's a group on Facebook. Girls from, so I went through LDS Family Services, and they provided group after. So and we hung out after a lot of the times, and we would just talk and everything, and we created a bond. And now, I mean, those girls got me through a lot. So find yourself a support system that knows what you're going through. There's a lot on Facebook, but our Giving Tree is the one I do on Facebook. And it's a safe place for birth moms. It 100% is. And you can share your feelings and not share them to all your news feed. If you're having a bad day, just all those things. Find yourself support.
Love that. Like, oh, I have such mad respect for you, and I have such love in my heart for you, because like, seriously, you're amazing. It's a huge, I have children of my own, and I can't even imagine, but just like your view on it, that you know what I mean? You seriously, just, this kid can have this amazing life, but you're still able to be in her life, and it's beautiful. And I have such mad respect for birth moms, especially. I think, people that adopt are wonderful, adoptees are wonderful, but birth moms, like, they have one of the hardest jobs, and it's one of the most selfless acts of love. And I have chills. I love it. And seriously, it's amazing. And I love that you get support. Like, I wouldn't even have thought of that, but that's huge.
Yeah.
And I love that they're there for you, because it's
and what's sad is a lot of adoption agencies, the support is not really, how do I say it? It's different. It's people hired to support you, and almost they don't know what you're going through, kind of a thing. So it's important to have those birth mothers, and that's what I loved about LDS Family Services, is they offered those. They had a place for you to go and share your feelings, and then from that point you could decide, hey, let's go to dinner after this, or those things, and then you become best friends. Like, some of those birth moms are my best friends. I mean, I haven't seen them in a while recently, just because of COVID, but they're some of my closest friends. And then they also, they threw me a baby shower for my son that I have now. And it's not just, now we're all friends, it's not just, so finding that support is super, super important, because through your hardest times, those girls are going to help you walk through it. So
100%, because they know your feelings. They felt like all those things. And I think that's so wonderful that it's like a tangible person, like you said. Like, it's somebody you physically go and hug and be like, hey, this is what's going on. I need you today. And they're 100% there for you. And I agree with the aspect of, like, people who are there to kind of just counsel you through it. You're like, yeah, you have no.
You're like,
yeah.
I get there's these steps that I could do, but I just need someone that knows.
Right. I love that. Is there anything else that you want to share? Any advice, suggestions, anything else about it? I just love it.
I think if you are pregnant and looking at adoption, that I wouldn't listen to the people that are against it, because they don't know the blessings it will bring, and they don't know why you are choosing it. Because where I was at, I was minimum wage. I was working 40 hours. Yeah. I thought it was a good job at the time. I could not afford to give that baby what she deserved, you know? And I also didn't want I was working 40 hours, and then I would need a second job. So then I would be working even more, and I would never see that baby, you know? It would be being babysat by a whole bunch of different people, being raised by a whole bunch of people. And for those that's the option and they decided to do that, great. But that's not the way I wanted it to be. I wanted to be very present in her life if I was going to mother her. And so I knew that I couldn't do that. So, and I also really wanted a father for her. I grew up without a father, and I didn't want to put that on her from day one, you know? And so I decided that was the best option for me. And if you decide that that's the best option for you, and people are trying to tell you that it's not to do it, disregard that and go with your gut feeling, because your gut feeling is probably right. And it's going to be hard, but it will be worth it in the end. 100%.
I love that. No, I seriously love everything. And seriously, Aubrey, thank you so much for taking the time to share this. And thank you for reaching out to me, because I can't say nothing but good things about you, because I just think it's amazing. And you know that, because being adopted, I think it's one of the best things ever, because like you said,
yeah,
I have a mom and especially a dad now because of the decision that my birth mom made.
Yeah.
And so it's just amazing. And I want you to know there are a lot of people that have mad respect and love for you, especially in like my little bubble, because I know that as I've told people I'm going to be interviewing birth moms, they're just like, they're amazing. They're so excited to hear from, you know, women like you, because you guys are strong. You guys are so incredibly strong. And I just think it's amazing and wonderful. So seriously, thank you for taking some time out of your day today to sit down with me and educate. And once I get my nonprofit rolling, you bet your butt I'm going to be in contact.
Oh, I would love that. I would love to help you with the support system for the birth moms.
I would totally head you up with that. Yeah, I would make that your baby, and that would just be amazing to have you a part of that, because that's something honestly I never would have thought of. So I would love it. It's been my dream forever to do that. So we'll get it done. Whether it happens tomorrow, we'll get it done. So,
great.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime.